Hello again. Hope you've all had a good week this week. As we're drawing to the end of this series of Proverbs for Women, I couldn't not take the opportunity to talk about one of my favourite verses in the Bible. Proverbs 3, 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your paths straight. Almost 32 years ago, my dad finished his speech at David and my wedding with this particular verse as wise advice to hold on to through our marriage. 32 years later, I look back and see what a wonderful gift this verse is. Going into marriage, knowing David was going into ministry, meant now I was going to be the minister's wife. I had this thought that it would be good to have a husband in ministry because it would make our spiritual walk easier because we had the same beliefs, the same desires, the same goals, and we'd be in it together. Now, to some extent, this was true, but it didn't take too many years to realise that I was also sharing him with a whole congregation of people who, like me, also had needs, desires, expectations, and he had a God-given call to help, serve, and evangelise to the lost. God has been good to us throughout our ministries, and we have been blessed in many ways. But ministry can be tough because you're dealing with people, and that's not always easy. But we've always trusted God, knowing that he has a plan and he will pull us through the harder times and grow us individually and as a couple. This past couple of years, though, have been really challenging for us. To be honest, it's been our most difficult time in 32 years of ministry. So I can testify that this verse has become more real for me now than ever before. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In the good times, it's easy to trust in God because everything is going great the way we think it should go. But when we're facing difficult situations, how hard is it to put our trust in God and not try and control a situation or give God advice on how he should be fixing it? I'm an expert at giving David advice, saying, what you should do. I am trying to stop this. I need to remind myself that David is trusting in God to guide him, and God's plan is much better than mine. So for me, to trust in God fully with all my heart and not tell God how he should be helping has been a real humbling and learning curve. It's human nature to want to know what's going on and see the big picture, see the plan. But maybe God isn't ready to reveal it yet. I know he has a plan. He goes before us to prepare it and he's with us throughout. Jeremiah says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." I believe we can ask God why, just like Job did when he was being tested by God. He called out, asking, "Why have you made me your target? Have I become a burden to you? Why do you not pardon my offences and forgive my sins?" And I believe we can ask God to reveal his plan and or give some light and hope in dark times. If we ask, God gives us a ray of light and hope to hold on to in the storms that we face. Last year, in the midst of a particularly bad storm, David and I had been praying and asking God, "We know you're in this boat with us, Lord, but please give us some light and hope in this situation." Then God gave us both a promise in separate situations, but at the same time, he told us 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty. Now, as we are entering into our 8th year at Reedy, we know that we are just beginning our 7 years of plenty. He didn't reveal how everything was going to turn out, but by his word, he let us know he had heard our prayers. Hang in there, he said, and good things are coming. I have to admit, When COVID hit and we all went into lockdown and the church had to change and go online, I said to God, this isn't exactly how I saw the 7 years of plenty unfolding. I had to remind myself He is able to do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine. Since then, we have witnessed exciting things happening in the life of Reedy. Our online services attracted lots of people from all over the place, including people that don't know Jesus yet. And isn't that God's ultimate plan for us? Remember, be wise, save lives, evangelize. We've also had a number of new young families come to the church. This is fantastic. Reedy Care and the timing of the op shop opening just before the hardship that COVID brought was all part of God's plan in God's perfect timing. Great things are happening. God is up to something. When we put our full trust in God with all our heart and we don't try and interfere with His plans with our own limited understanding, then as verse 6 reminds us, in all your ways submit to Him and He will make our paths straight. Submit, definition is accept or yield to a superior force or to the authority or will of another person. So basically the verse is telling us in everything we are to submit, yield, obey God, and then He will make our paths straight. Notice it says paths straight. It doesn't say there won't be mountains, there won't be valleys on our path. They may be straight and show us the ultimate direction to head, but they won't always be easy. And therefore we need to ensure we are walking with Him on that path. I think Abraham is the ultimate example of these verses. His trust in God and obedience is inspiring. As a 99-year-old with a 90-year-old wife without an heir, God tells him he was going to be the father of many nations and that they together would have a son. As if having a child at that age wasn't enough test of trust and faith, when his son Isaac was about 8 or 9, God then told him to sacrifice his beloved son as a burnt offering. This is huge. He had to wait forever to have this precious son. Then God tells him to take him and sacrifice him. But despite not knowing the big picture, Abraham trusted and obeyed God. And just as he was about to sacrifice Isaac, God intervened and He stopped him. Then He sent a ram in to use instead. God then blessed Abraham. His offspring multiplied, and through them all nations were blessed. An awesome story of trust and obedience, and ultimately a straight path for Abraham. So why put our trust in God? Because trusting in Him in all situations, we will grow, and it brings us closer in our walk with Him. I know I have grown in my spiritual life and closer to Him than ever before this year. As we walk with Him, He makes our paths straight. I don't know what's next, but I'm trusting God and holding on to His promise to us on that straight path to the destination with Him. God wants the best for us, which is why His plans are best and we need to trust Him. Thanks for listening. Keep trusting Him and have a fabulous week.